Goodyear City Council meeting.
Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the officer. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for August 28th, 2023. Please click everybody present. Clerk, please let us know everybody's here, correct?
Yes, let the record reflect that all members are present.
Okay. With that, would you please join Vice Mayor Kano in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we welcome you into our meeting as we gather together following summer break to conduct the business of the city in this public forum. We optimistically look to the future and ask for wisdom and discernment as we address anticipated and unexpected matters of city business. Lord, we grieve with those in the city of Lahaina for the devastation that overtook them so suddenly and so violently. We pray that you extend your hand of mercy to the people, first responders, and city leaders to bring hope, healing, and restoration. Your word says you give beauty for ashes. Show us your glory in this situation that looks impossible. Have mercy on Lahaina. Father, we give thanks for keeping our frontline workers, fire and police safe in our growing city and in extreme temperatures. We as a council are united in our prayers for their protection and well-being. Tonight we join with many others in praying for rain. And we pray this all in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We have one communication item tonight. Chief Rodriguez, would you come on up here?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I feel so honored to get to try out the new podium. It's beautiful. So tonight I want to bring to you 4 awards of recognition that we received in the month of July for our department, both in communications and also out in our traffic unit. So with that, I'll go through it, and then afterwards I'll have everybody step inside so we can do a nice photo. So I want to start out with the first one. The first 3 are for our Goodyear Dispatch Center. They received 3 awards this year at the State Association of Public Safety Communications Conference, in other words, known as APCO, which you might have heard that before. I also want to say that we know that Goodyear is rapidly growing. We know that this is reflected not only in our increase of volume for critical calls that we receive in our communications center, but also in the calls that we respond to out there in the field. Our first award was for Dispatch Supervisor of the Year. So Dispatch Supervisor Cynthia Hudson, who has 17 and a half years of experience, 2.5 of those years here in Goodyear and the other 15 in DPS as a supervisor. So Cynthia is well respected and highly competent team leader. In addition to being our shift supervisor, she oversees our training program, including our new hiring training. She's organized in policy working groups. She has organized policy working groups in communications. So they are working on creating those SOPs and those best standards that we use in our dispatch center each and every day when somebody needs help. The caliber of her leadership that we've seen in Cynthia is rare and valuable. We are so fortunate here in Goodyear to have her on the team. And as you'll see some of the photos there of them receiving the awards that evening. Our second one is our Dispatch Trainer of the Year. So Dispatch Supervisor Sharon Jagger, who has been with us for 15 years and has 15 years of experience here at the PD. In addition to being a shift supervisor, she also assists our training coordinator and is a communications training officer. So as you would know, a field training officer for our patrol officers, she is training our up-and-coming dispatchers, both in 911 and how to work the two-way radios. Sharon is also active in mental health and wellness and is one of our peer counselors too, for not only our dispatchers, our professional staff, but also in the department for any of the things that we come across. She provides training to our employees with resources, information, how to build resilience to thrive through the stresses of their new careers. She sets these standards of self-care and providing the resources to help them become more resilient early on, which we all know is invaluable resource to our new employees when they start this career. And those who work with her appreciate the focus of their wellness. Our third award in dispatch is Dispatch Incident of the Year. So the emergency dispatchers that were involved were Supervisor Chris Virgo, Dispatcher Kara Hilford, call taker Sean Pitchford, and call taker Jessica Ortiz. Amongst the four, they have 48 years of experience. I think that's very important to point out here. The incident that was submitted happened on February 26, 2023 at about 7:57 a.m. The 911 calls began to ring into dispatch into our 911 communication center with multiple callers calling that a truck had struck a large group of bicyclists on Cotton Lane Bridge. Over the next 90 minutes, the small but amazing team fielded 115 calls while monitoring multiple radio channels, coordinating the resources needed to respond to a mass casualty incident. The team all worked together seamlessly to provide the support needed for the first responders, the victims, and the victims' families, maintaining order on an extremely busy radio channel with over 100 responders. So these four people took that on, but also still managed to answer any 911 calls that came in for other things that happened or any transfer calls that were coming in. That is an amazing feat to do for 90 minutes. It's like doing CPR forever. You know, if you do it for 5 minutes, you're tired and wiped out at the end. I'm sure you were all tired and wiped out at the end. And we thank them for their efforts. Our last award, just as our emergency dispatchers are busy, our police officers are just as busy out in the field. So Officer Corey Miyazato received 2 awards this year at the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers Awards Banquet here in Arizona. The first award was Mad Hero Award, which was an award that is department nominated by his peers. And the second one was Mad Outstanding Officer of the Year Award for the state. That is an amazing feat that many departments don't get at all. Some officers don't get it in their entire career. So Traffic Officer Corey Miyazato is dedicated to serving our community and keeping it as safe as possible. Officer Miyazato has saved countless lives by removing impaired drivers from our roadways. In 2022, he had the most DUIs in the state by one officer, which was 239 DUI arrests. We talk about it all the time if we're saving lives out there. We'll never know how many lives Corey has saved, but I guarantee you he has saved some lives by taking those impaired drivers off the roadway. That is keeping my family safe, it's keeping your family safe, it's keeping our loved ones safe. So with that, I ask if anybody would like to take a photo, Mayor, if you'd like to take a photo with our staff, I'll have them come into the well here.
Well, first
We
of
can
all,
take
how
a
about a
quick
round
photo.
of applause for their
Break the barrier.
Break the barrier.
You won't turn it back.
Ready? Smile, Laura. Couple more. Perfect.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Hey, get to see you twice and I saw you the award. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, everybody.
All right, next up is the appointments. Our next item is approve the appointments to the Youth Commission. We don't have a presentation on but if you have any questions, let's get a motion on the table in a second. Can I get a motion in a second? I see a motion in a second. Do we have any, let's see, does anybody want to say anything at this point? No? All right, then can I get a motion, a vote? You got the votes up? Seven zero, and I guess now we're going to bring the city clerk come forward to swear in the new youth commissions.
Could I have Sophia Bobadilla come forward, please?
Just one?
Yeah, just one.
Just one?
So raise your right hand. Do solemnly affirm. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution and laws. Of the state of Arizona. That I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the same. And defend them against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And that I will faithfully and impartially. Discharge the duties of Commissioner. According to the best of my ability. So I do affirm. Congratulations.
All right. Want to thank you for giving of your time to the service community. Now it's time for citizens who would like to address the city council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of Goodyear. Do we have any cards?
Yes, Mayor, we have Brian McCarty.
Oh, Brian, first, the council will listen to comments and may take any of the following actions: respond to criticism, request that staff investigate and report on the matter, request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. You got 3 minutes, and please, the red light will come on and give you 20 seconds left. Please identify yourself for the record, name and address. Thank you. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mayor. My name is Brian McCarty. My address is 13617 West Roanoke Avenue, Goodyear, Arizona 85395.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, also Chief Rodriguez, and your officers, your dispatchers, and your your first responders. You guys are truly heroes. We appreciate that. Again, my name is Brian McCarty. I'm a resident of Goodyear, and for the last 13 years, I've lived in my dream house in Palm Valley. I'm here today to unfortunately express my displeasure and safety concern about the increased number of training flights being operated out of Goodyear Airport and the noise they produce. Many of these flights operate from 5:30 a.m. to past midnight, 7 days a week, including some holidays. In 2021, the year-to-date general aviation operations out of Goodyear were 70,000. In 2022, they jumped 90% to 132,000. And in this year, the operations are projected to surpass 200,000. Myself and my neighbors, I want to be clear, support this training school, the airport, and their contribution to our city and the aviation industry, but the rapid growth and extended hours of flying has negatively impacted our quality of life. The largest school operates approximately 50 Cirrus aircraft in the 200 horsepower, 3-blade propeller class. The school is rapidly growing to 95 aircraft, and whereas you might not hear a single-engine Cessna, a more traditional training aircraft, the noise generated by the Cirrus undeniably penetrates indoor spaces. Since January 2023, this year, over 4,100 aircraft have passed over our neighborhood, sometimes 19 hours a day. To reduce the noise and safety concerns, we would like your support in proposing the following procedures to the sponsors and operators of Goodyear Airport. Implement a Monday through Saturday only schedule from approximately 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., no flying on Sundays or national holidays. Implement a policy for pilots to fly a short approach to remain south of Interstate 10. Utilize a flight pattern that maximizes the Agua Fria River or the east side of the airport. Implement an official noise abatement policy that whenever a flight north of Interstate 10 is necessary for safety, climb to a minimum of 2,500 feet MSL, reduce power, and descend quietly on glide path to runway 21. And incentivize flight schools to fly quieter by offering discounted fees for noise abatement compliance, i.e. a Good Neighbor Award. We respectfully ask you to help us work as a cooperative team to maximize both our business ventures and our quality of life in Goodyear. Thank you again for your time and attention to this problem.
City manager, some of his recommendations. Who's the deputy over that? Justin? All right, Justin, can you get that information from him, and can you kind of follow up to see if any of that can be worked with the airport? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Go ahead.
Present.
Did you wish to speak, sir?
I'm sorry. Yes, I do wish to speak.
You heard the prior, so just go ahead and name for the record and address, okay?
Name and address, yes, sir. Paul Wegeman, 13446 West Coronado Road, Goodyear, 85395 in Palm Valley. Like my colleague, I am a pilot. He is a pilot, I'm a pilot and a flight instructor. Obviously, you can tell he's quite well versed in the subject. I'm going to read verbatim from a statement that I made at the Phoenix Aviation Advisory Board on the 17th, and I'll just read it here, so apologize for reading. Like my colleague, I'm a constituent and homeowner concerned about peaceful enjoyment, property values, and aviation safety. I'm a working commercial pilot and flight instructor, member of the Arizona Safety Advisory Group, Flight Training Work Group, National Association of Flight Instructors. I trained at Goodyear and Glendale airports, among other places, and I live in Palm Valley, north of McDowell and Palm Valley Boulevard. I believe I speak knowledgeably. I've lived here almost 4 years. Prior to working as a pilot, I had a career as a real estate broker, so I'm also versed in real estate. Yes, I was aware I was moving to an aviation community. Heck, that's by design, and I know what is and is not necessary to fly in the airport pattern and to be a good neighbor. Prior to United Aviate Goodyear operations, we only experienced occasional air traffic flying over our neighborhood at low altitudes. I myself only occasionally flew north of I-10 in extenuating circumstances by ATC request. However, since United's arrival, the traffic and noise over Palm Valley by them in particular has become egregious. They fly excessively long patterns unnecessary for light general aviation GA aircraft and not part of industry practice, the Airplane Flying Handbook, or the AIM, which all illustrate VFR patterns with much closer base and crosswind legs, keeping aircraft at or near I-10. We have documented planes routinely flying well north of McDowell, often dangerously below 1,000 feet above ground and as low as 500 to 600 feet, therefore flying over a rooftop or tree even closer than that. This violates minimum safe altitudes 91-119 Bravo, and I argue is not necessary for takeoff or landing in the pattern. Further, this violates paragraph alpha to execute an emergency landing without undue hazard to persons or property, careless and reckless operation 9113 alpha, and it's just poor technique. I've previously proposed simple solutions, much like my colleague, merely fly the pattern south of I-10, as I and other pilots have done for years. It's only a matter of time before an accident occurs, and it's unreasonable to expect homeowners to gamble their property and lives with that very real possibility. My colleague and I are both available for consultation or advisory or anything that you folks would need. Thank you.
If you would like, meet with Justin in the back there. There he is.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, will the city clerk please read the consent agenda items 3 through 12 by title only?
Number 3, approval of minutes. Number 4, approve an agreement between City of Goodyear and Roosevelt Irrigation Improvement District RID to relocate Red Well number 33 and provide a replacement well site. Number 5, conditionally approve the final plat of Silva Trails at West Goodyear Phase 2, subject to stipulations. Number 6, approve the intergovernmental agreement between State of Arizona and City of Goodyear providing Arizona State Prison Complex at Perryville with operations, maintenance, and capital improvements. Number 7, approve the intergovernmental agreements with Agua Fria Union High School District number 216 for school resource officer services. Number 8, approve participation in Drug Enforcement Agency DEA Equitable Sharing Agreement and Annual Certification Affidavit. Number 9, adopt resolution number 2023-2339 approving the Foreign Trade Zone FTZ policy of the City of Goodyear dated August 28, 2023, providing authorization and direction to take actions and execute documents necessary to carry out intent of the resolution, limiting application of tax policy to future FTZ sites, and providing for an effective date. Number 10, authorize the acceptance and execution of a special warranty deed conveying right-of-way for roadway improvements on West Lower Buckeye at Estrella Parkway and Wood Boulevard. Number 11, adopt ordinance number 2023-1586, amending Chapter 13, Traffic, Section 13-3-19 of Goodyear City Code related to vehicle immobilization and impound requirements, providing for correction, severability penalties, and an effective date. Number 12, adopt ordinance number 2023-1585, amending Chapter 11, Article 11-1, offenses of Goodyear City Code, providing for correction, severability penalties, and an effective date.
Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item? Which item?
I just have questions on items 4 and 6, just simple questions.
Okay, who's got 4? Who's got 6? Come on up.
4 is the fire station.
4 would be Mario Saldamando, and number 6 would be Bobby Chapman.
I was trying to find it. It's a super simple question. Has this delayed the construction of this fire station project? This well scenario? I mean, beyond what we've already been briefed on?
Yeah, so the project was on schedule to be completed in October of this year. And as a result of negotiating an agreement, the annexation that was related to this project as well, that's delayed the project by 2 months. So instead of October, it's opening in December.
Okay. But we're still in this calendar year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I got on that one.
All right, next one up.
I was number 6, and this says we're going to have an intergovernmental agreement with Perryville prison, or the Arizona prison complex at Perryville for operations, maintenance, and capital improvements. We have nothing to do with operating the prison, right? This is about the wastewater. I know that because I read the report, but anybody who's reading this, I want to be very clear, we have nothing to do with the operation of the prison complex that this is about the wastewater service that we provide to the Perryville prison. I just wanted that publicly noted very clearly, because this item as it's listed does not do that. So, thanks, Barb.
Thank you.
You good? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Would the city council please enter a motion and a second to approve items 3 through 12? I see a motion and a second. City clerk, go ahead and open it up. Passes 7-0. Thank you. There are 3 public hearings on the agenda. First public hearing to consider is a rezone on the southeast corner of Bullard and Van Buren. Open the public hearing. Obviously, you're not Karen, so Steve, give us the, come in and introduce yourself to the public.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Steve Correcchia, planning manager. I do have a rezoning request before you tonight. It is from Vantage Data Centers. And where we are, we're about 17 acres. This is Van Buren here, Bullard Ave. So 17 acres right here. Just surrounding this property to the north, we have undeveloped property in process to rezone to light industrial. Heading to the northwest, existing multifamily complex here. Further west, Skyway Church, kind of wrapping around south of Van Buren. Undeveloped right now, this is C2 General Commercial, another multifamily development further west of that. And then south of the subject property is existing the Vantage Data Center site. They've got that building here, an APS substation. And rounding it out here to the east is the Goodyear Municipal Complex. And the property itself, in the general plan, it's got business and commerce land use. A little bit of history, 2004. This property, along with 107 acres, went from C2 and I2 to C2 and I1. The 17 acres was zoned commercial at that time. And the property that's the existing Vantage Data Center, that was zoned I1. More recently, February 2019, we had a site plan approval for the Vantage Data Center site, sites 11, 12, and 13, and the substation. Tonight's request is to continue the Vantage Data Center development, and again, request that I1 zoning that supports the data center development. And this is the subject property right here, so we have Van Buren and Bullard. And what the applicant did was superimpose their proposed development plan on that 17 acres. And as you can see here, this is the outline of the data center building. And what they're showing is some of the supporting generators to the north and south of the building, along with some rooftop equipment here. Also shown is a little bit of the landscape improvements that they're proposing, which will show better up on the next slide. And again, same picture, just with a better rendition of the landscaping here along Bullard and Van Buren. You can see that they're going to continue that theme that was started along Bullard, wrap that up north to Van Buren, and then wrap that around the north here. So they'll have a nice consistent theme of that landscape here around the building. They will also continue the design theme that they have for the existing data centers. Again, you can see the colors, materials, kind of that high-tech look for this building will be continued. And this picture shows what you will see from Van Buren. And right now, this picture just kind of shows that everything, really the purpose of this picture is to show everything is screened. All the equipment, the generators, the exhaust stacks, everything will be screened. And this kind of picture kind of shows a little better of what's proposed. Here was that screening that you were seeing in the last slide. Here are the generators here. You can see everything is screened behind this blue mesh. All the equipment on the roof is screened. And here's that landscape theme that wraps around the entire street frontage. As a rezone public hearing process, it did have to follow all our citizen review and public hearing processes. So we did send out notice for the citizen review, did not receive any inquiries on that. For the public hearing, our legal ad postcard posting of the property, again, no opposition or inquiries received from the public on this rezoning request. So after staff conducted our review, we do find that it meets our criteria for rezoning. It's consistent with the general plan, compatible with the surrounding area. There'll be minimal impacts on neighboring properties and the public. Prime access will be from Bullard, nothing from Van Buren. They'll be completing infrastructure improvements required for the site. Little noise or traffic given the development of the data center. Little water use since it'll be all air-cooled equipment. And with that, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission, we are both recommending approval subject to those stipulations in the draft staff report. With that, Mayor, council members, that concludes my presentation. The applicant is here to answer any questions that you have.
Would the applicant like to say anything at this time?
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Ben Graff with the law firm of Quarles and Brady at 2 North Central Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona, here representing the Vantage Data Center project here before you. I really don't have much more to add other than the staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions. I did want to thank the council and staff because you've put in a lot of work into studying where data centers are appropriate in your community. As you know, the Goodyear Data Center Opportunities Brochure is something this council put forward and specifically identified this property for this specific use. So thank you for being forward thinking, for placing that out into the public, and Vantage has been incredibly excited to be able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Okay, thank you for now.
Thank you. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, sure. Speaker cards? No, Mayor. Okay. Anybody in the audience like to speak? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. The city clerk, please read resolutions 2023-2334 by title only.
Adopt resolution number 2023-2334, declaring as public records of certain documents incorporated by reference in ordinance 2023-1581, rezoning approximately 17 acres of land located at the southeast corner of Bullard Avenue and Van Buren Street from C2 General Commercial to I1 Light Industrial.
Okay, thank you. Open for council discussion. Well, I see a motion and a second out there. Open for council discussion. Councilmember Stips up first.
Thank you, Mayor. I first of all want to thank Vantage. You have been a great partner to this point, so we're excited for the expansion. I think it's only natural from where you're at. So thank you very much for that, Steve. I do have a question for you regarding the screening and the appearance from Van Buren, if you can. It's so hard to tell in the renderings what does that really look like from Van Buren. We spend a lot of time requiring our industrial buildings to have some shape and I'm going to say irregularity so that it doesn't look like just a straight flat wall. Do those same types of requirements apply to this very large screening effect that's going to take place along Van Buren?
Mayor, council members? Yes, that's a good point to clarify. Even when we have large screens such as this, applicants lately, especially as we've gotten more used to seeing such large screens like this, they'll add undulations in the screens itself along the roof. They'll vary materials. A mesh like this is similar to what they have on the other buildings. It kind of does have a nice, almost a little bit of, you can see through it, so it's not so much a solid opaque mass that you're looking at. So at this as being a rezoning, these are renditions of what they would like to do. We'll work with the developers as we get through the site plan process, through the elevations, and we'll work with them on even enhancing this even further.
Which is the reason that I crafted my question in the way that I did, to see if there's a similarity, because of course this is a zoning request. But I think as we look at this and we look at this is right along Van Buren, and Vantage has also done a very good job on their product as it faces Bullard, but they are now going to occupy a corner, and the beautiful glass that faces Bullard obviously is taken away by this mass that comes along Van Buren. So I just wanted to find out if we've got in our design guidelines some requirement that will break this up so it's not just one big blue wall, if you will, that we do have some changes. And if we do not, that perhaps as we go through our design guideline updates, this might be an opportunity for us to consider how we affect that. But I also want to take the opportunity to let the applicant know that that is a concern, at least of mine, and I'm sure of many of the other council members, that we are concerned about how this appears from Van Buren. So as you work with the staff on your design and your site planning, please keep that in mind. That as we move forward in theoretically granting the zoning on this, we would like to see some architectural feature there. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
I also wanted to commend Vantage for putting together a very quality product that is now facing Bullard. So that definitely gives us confidence that this new one will also have that same modern tech look. I think that the carrying on of the design that you have is a great idea. I'm fully appreciative of all the screening that you're doing for all the equipment. And I think Councilmember Stipp brings up a good point about the block look. But I think that this is a primary corner for this corridor leading in there, and we want it to look special. And I think that based on what you've done so far, that you'll continue to do a good job. Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Thank you. Steve, I have a question for you. Is there going to be a monument sign on the corner of Bullard and Van Buren, right by the data center there? There's no drawing that shows a rendering of that. It's just going to be a corner.
Mayor, council members, thank you for that question.
Thank you, Christopher.
I got that one, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Well, this new microphone really works well, doesn't it? Mayor, council, thank you for the question. The corner piece that you see there, Councilmember Campbell, which I think is generating your question at the corner of Van Buren and Bullard there, that's part of the overall and Bullard Enhanced Landscape Plan. The Vantage is not responsible for any signage or anything in that regard. That would be a future CIP project should the city elect to put signage there. Right now, it is not in the. It's not on Vantage's court, and there's no plans for a sign at that point in time.
Is the building? Does it have any identifying marks that we know it's Vantage?
Oh, for the building itself, I will turn that one back over to Steve. I know that they have a comprehensive sign plan for their existing campus, and I would presume, I'm going to presume that same is going to carry over on this particular campus as well.
All right. What do you say, Steve? Sorry.
Mayor, council members, Christopher is correct. They do have a sign package for the overall campus. So they built into their sign package these future phases. So they do have signage proposed, ground signage.
Both buildings.
And buildings, yes.
Okay. Over the council break, I had the opportunity to go to Ashburn, Virginia, and I toured many of the data centers that were there, and they were beautifully done with beautiful landscaping, and I just want our staff to be sure that we don't skimp on the landscaping, because we don't need to wait 25 years for it to fill in, to make it look pretty. And I think you can use different variations of landscaping to enhance that entire Van Buren area. Because I know we can't put signs or anything in there, but depending on how it looks. But we're excited to have them. We're so happy that they want to expand on that corner. It makes absolute sense to put them side by side. And we welcome them to do that in Goodyear. We just want it to look good. Please. Thank you.
You good?
That's it.
Everybody good? Open up the voting. Passes 7-0. Will the city clerk please read ordinance 2023-1581 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2023-1581, conditionally rezoning approximately 17 acres of land located at the southeast corner of Bullard Avenue and Van Buren Street from C2 General Commercial to I-1 Light Industrial, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for non-abridgment, providing for corrections, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, providing for penalties, and directing the city clerk to record a copy of this ordinance.
Thank you. Will the council please enter a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2023-1581? See a motion and a second. Request to speak. We just cleared that out. Nothing there. Open up the voting. Passes 7-0. Next public hearing item is to consider is annexing of a section of Citrus Road. Open the public hearing. Go ahead and please introduce yourself there, Chris.
Good evening, Mayor Pizzillo and Council. I'm here before you this evening with a request from, I'm Christian Williams, Principal Planner, here with a request from Michael Gleason to hold the second public hearing for an annexation of a property into the Goodyear corporate limits. So back on April 24th, the council authorized staff to initiate the statutory process for annexing the approximately 3.26 acres of property on the east half of Citrus Road alignment between Van Buren Street on the north and Harrison Street on the south. On July 10th, the hearing and the 30-day waiting period expired. The blank petitions were circulated. As a part of the annexation process, the petitions must be signed by at least 50% of the property owners and 51% of the value holders of that property. And with regards to this annexation, the city is one of those property owners as well as Meritage Homes. Having collected those required signatures, the annexation ordinance has been prepared for you all to consider. If approved and signed, an affidavit would then be prepared for Maricopa County Recorder, and a copy of the annexation would be sent to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors of Maricopa County. And with that, I request that you consider adopting the ordinance before you to annex this property within the city limits. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Christian. Any speaker cards? Anybody in the audience like to speak on the subject? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read ordinance 2023-1587 by title only?
Ordinance number 2023-1587, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the city of Goodyear, Maricopa County,
State of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and Amendments thereto by annexing approximately 3.268 acres of property along the east half of the Citrus Road alignment between Van Buren Street and Harrison Street, which is contiguous to and surrounded by the existing city limits of the city of Goodyear, and providing a city zoning designation of AU agricultural urban, providing directions and an effective date.
Thank you. Will the council please enter a motion as second to adopt ordinance 2023-1587? I got a motion and a second. Go ahead and open for discussion. I have Councilmember Hampton up first.
Yeah, just a quick question. So I know we're getting the east side of the road, but the other side of the road, if we want to widen that, is going to be, that's all county, correct?
That is correct.
So would that be on, if we want to widen it, would that be on our responsibility? Or is there an agreement with Maricopa? I don't think there's an agreement with Maricopa County for them to provide the other half of that street.
So there are existing residents on the west half, so the city would need to either work with the county on what that process would look like or consider the annexation of that property as well as receiving the underlying rights to that property.
Okay, be the same annexation type process and the same amount of ownership and things like that. So, okay, just trying to plan for what the future looks like if that road becomes, because it's still an exit off the freeway, to see how busy that road might be in the future. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Can you open up for voting? Thank you, Christian. Passes 7-0. The last public hearing is to consider a rezoning near Perryville Road and Lilac Street. Open public hearing. Back up.
Hello there again. Christian Williams, Principal Planner here before you this evening with an application from Brendan Ray to conduct a rezoning on a property within the city. The overall property we will be discussing today is 109.93 acres. It's located in central Goodyear in an area we call West Goodyear, and that is located at the northwest corner of Perryville Road and Lilac Street. Lilac is basically Harrison Street, but it's called Lilac over here. And the property is currently in the general plan land use categories neighborhoods, and the property is currently zoned Amber Meadows final planned area development with an underlying use of residential. And the overall property, again, is this fun four-sided shape with the star in the middle. All right. Zooming in a little closer, you can see that the property is just south of the RID Canal here on the north, as well as some county residential properties north of that. It is north and west of the La Privada at West Goodyear Master Plan Community, which proposes residential uses as well as a school, and it is to the south and west of existing county residential property. To the west of the property is the Buckeye Planning Area, and that is currently a farmed agricultural field. All right, so for an abbreviated history of the property back in 2005 was zoned Amber Meadows PAD. It called for 2 lot sizes, a 60 by 120 and a 70 by 120, as well as half of an elementary school down here at the corner here. That would create a full elementary school if you consider the La Privada 7.5 acres. Today, the applicant seeks to rezone this to a master plan community with 2 zoning districts, a mix of R14 and R16, as well as that allocation for half of a school site, that 7.5. Again, that will create a whole school site with the La Privada development. So the applicant is seeking to replace the existing PAD with these standards here. The development proposes 57.67 acres of R14 with R14 reduced development standards, and approximately 52.24 acres of property zoned with R16 with those R16 reduced standards. The maximum number of developable units on the property would be 402 residential units with a school site, or 437 residential units in the event no school is constructed, as that school site does have an underlying residential zoning. This all has a PAD overlay on it to codify those minimum level of residential amenities, connectivity elements, and streetscape elements that you would expect in a typical Goodyear master plan community. To highlight a few of those modifications and restrictions, all lots within the R14 zoned area will have a minimum lot width of 45 feet and a minimum lot depth of 115 feet, with the exception of corner and knuckle lots. All lots within the R16 area of the development will have a minimum width of 50 feet. Now we'll discuss some additional details on the next slide. So from the amenities, there will be a 5-acre centralized park and amenity center that will be developed. That park will include a community pool, a restroom facility, 2 pickleball courts, 1 large group ramada with barbecue grills and picnic areas, a minimum of 1 small ramada throughout that property, a high and dry tot lot, a turf area that's large enough for a U6 soccer field, and an 8-foot wide trails that will go throughout the park and connect it to the overall master plan. On the left, you'll see that blow up of that central park and pool. And on the right, you can see the location of additional parks that will be scattered throughout the development with their own minimum requirements in order to make sure that all residents are within 1/4 of a mile from a park. Here are some connectivity elements here. So this infill development will construct a publicly accessible 5-foot soft trail on the east side of the site through the 25-foot RID easement that will connect it to the RID trail that will connect you into the greater area of West Goodyear. Additionally, there'll be a 5-foot trail connection that will connect to the La Privada trail system that will take you all the way down to effectively Las Brisas. The lot diversity will be achieved by 100% of the lots within the R14 area exceeding the minimum lot standards, and approximately 54% of the site will be comprised of 45 by 115 lots. By comparison, an R14 typical lot is 40 by 100, so that's where it exceeds. White crossbuck fencing, rail fencing will be provided along the Perryville Road frontage in addition to their primary theme wall, so that there's some breaking up of the long plane of wall, giving that agrarian feel and blending in with what we're establishing here within West Goodyear. And additionally, the site's entry monuments and site hard corners along Perryville will include that rail fencing to be cohesive and reinforce that theme. To highlight some streetscape elements, similar to the other West Goodyear developments, this development is working to also brand themselves as part of West Goodyear. They will feature the words West Goodyear on their corner monumentation signs and have the fencing and things of that nature at some highlight areas such as the community park. 3 additional streetscape elements will be finalized when they get to preliminary plat, and that could take the form of paver driveways, detached sidewalks along the local streets with trees in between the sidewalk and the curb, and then the enhanced entries off of Perryville Road as well as Lilac entry. To date, the city has not received any formal resident opposition, just general inquiries about what's going on across the street or why did I get a postcard. And staff has evaluated the impacts of the proposed zoning on the greater community. With no major concerns being found, we are recommending that you approve this rezoning request for R14 and R16 with a PAD overlay, such as the ones that are found in the staff report. And of note, this development will be building their half-street improvements on the east side of Perryville that is 2 lanes northbound. They will also be finishing off Lilac Street as a collector roadway from La Privada to Perryville Road. They will pay an in-lieu payment for 25% of the traffic signal that will be located at Perryville Road and and Perryville, and they will work to dedicate the 7.5 acres to the Liberty Elementary School District. I'm happy to answer any planning and zoning questions you might have on this.
Thank you, Christian. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Close public hearing. The city clerk plead resolution 2023-2292 by title only.
Adopt resolution number 2023-2292 declaring as public records of certain documents incorporated by reference in ordinance 2023-1571 related to the rezoning case for Amber Meadows at West Goodyear.
Thank you. Will the council please enter a motion and a second for the resolution 2023-2292? I see a motion and a second. Go ahead and open for discussion. Councilmember Hampton's up.
Yeah, I appreciate the project being brought today. Thanks, Christian, for going through it. I just had some quick questions just on the feel of the neighborhood. Is 183rd, will that be built out by the developer, or is that still a county portion? Is there access to the neighborhood from 183rd? I see the school there. I'm just curious about 183rd is the first question.
Great question. Let me see if I can find something. Well, this will help slightly. This will help a little bit. No, that will not help. So 183rd coming from the south will leave Las Ventanas and that development that was Paseo Place called Estrella de Ventanas or Ventanas de Estrella. It will go north through La Privada, and when it gets to Lilac, it will be a 3-way stop. So that 183rd is going to dead end at the school site. So the entrances to this neighborhood will be off of the Lilac here at about the 184th Avenue alignment, and then this drive here, which is tentatively called Amber Way.
Okay. And then the second question is there any amenity for jogging paths or bike paths near the canal, not on the canal property? But I'm thinking like Palm Valley, how they have some paths somewhat close to the canal. Is that going to be part of the amenities at all?
Good question. So the tentative plan right now is, and as identified in the Parks, Recs, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan, is this corridor does become a trail corridor. That will not be incumbent on the developer to build that. But what is planned is this trail that will connect to that path here on the east side, that will run down the east side of this property, connect to their central amenity, and then there's an additional trail stub that connects you to the La Privada trail system. That La Privada trail system is, again, also open to the public and will then connect you down to Yuma, to the Maricopa Trail, and then beyond that, there's additional trails that get you down to Las Brisas.
Nice. So a little bit more connectivity. And then this is a good picture right here. So, and this is just my lesson learned. I just left a neighborhood where there were trees like this between the median and the sidewalk. And now 20 years later, some of the trees are, they're massive like they should be, but they're like raised in the concrete, and maybe they're right. I'm just curious if there's a certain type of tree that they're going to look at to put there. So I'm thinking 20 years from now, the residents are still content with the size or the type of tree. Maybe that's something each way have to deal with later, but just want the thought process in there for what type of trees and the ramifications 20 years from now, what that would look like and feel like in the community. I like the look of it. It looks great, but I was just, like I said, lesson learned from the last neighborhood I was in. So, and then, no, I think that's it. I think that's good. I like that the parks are close, the extra amenities with the smaller lot sizes. So yeah, I appreciate all the hard work that you and the team and the developer came to this project. So thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
I've got a question, Christian. The school site, it's just designated. We don't know that they're going to build a school. We hope they do, but we don't know. So are the homes that are going to be behind the school, or is it going to be fenced so that there's a definite separation from that school site to the homeowner's backyard?
So what they're currently proposing on a majority of this property when we get to the preliminary plat level is there's an HOA landscape tract that touches this portion. I can't speak to this home specifically, but I do believe that this is all one tract as I've been looking at the preliminary plat. So there is some buffer there. And then as you get to the La Privada side with that preliminary plat, there is one home that does abut the school site, but the remainder of that is a roadway.
Okay, and then you said 183rd stops at the school site, so where the houses back on the far right side as you're looking at it, are they going to be fenced off so that they're not open to that land?
So in the La Privada preliminary plat that has been approved, the houses that are here at the southeast corner, they are faced south, so there's a theme wall on the north side.
Okay, well, what about on further up?
It goes north.
It goes north, those houses up here. No, keep going, up, more.
The county.
Oh, the county?
Yeah,
The county, there's like a private, like a dirt road that runs here from 183rd and connects to Jefferson Street. So they're not near the school. And then if you'll recall from the preliminary plat, these houses here face a Jefferson Street dirt road, and then there's that giant giant conveyance channel with the horse trail and the pedestrian trail. So there's a physical separation between these homes and La Privada, as well as these homes in Amber Meadows.
okay, I just don't want to approve this and have them start building the homes and then get into a big confrontation with the folks that are in the County Island part, because they don't want people coming on their property and vice versa. I just want to make sure that the developer is going to do some type of mediation for that area, because we've had this conversation before on other sites, and I don't want to do it again. I think it needs to be addressed before anything's done. Okay?
And there's that trail to alleviate some of your concerns. There is that 25-foot RID easement where they will be putting in a soft trail, so you won't have homes directly back up to that road. And then there is the conveyance channel between the dirt road and the actual backyard view fencing of these homes that are located.
Okay, would those be view fencing then?
That is correct.
Perfect, okay.
This entire corridor will have view fencing.
Okay.
This corridor, I believe, will have view fencing because there's a trail.
That's great. And then none of those proposed homes will be looking into someone else's homes?
They'll be directly behind a
Behind them.
trail, and
Okay.
then there'll be open space.
Okay, good.
Because one of our policies that we have is if there's open space, you do view fencing and trails or recreational amenities before the next property.
Okay, thank you very much.
Seeing no further discussion, go ahead and open it for voting, please. Passes 7-0. Will the city clerk please read ordinance 2023-1571 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 2023-1571, conditionally rezoning approximately 109.93 gross acres of property located at the northeast corner of Perryville Road and Lilac Street to be known as Amber Meadows at West Goodyear, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for non-abridgment, providing for corrections, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for penalties, and directing the city clerk to record a copy of this ordinance.
Thank you. Kenny, let's see what we got. Yeah, skip some here. City clerk, please enter a motion in a second. Council enter a motion in a second to adopt ordinance 2023-1571. Got a motion and a second. With that, any discussion? Seeing none? Vote. Passes 7-0. Does the council have any comments, commendations, or reports on current events, future items? Let me look to the right. You got something?
I do, but I would like, it's an inquiry to our city manager.
Okay, to the left?
To the left. So, Madam City Manager, and I don't want to know tonight, but I'm curious on what all the traffic control changes are going down Bullard. The signs have been up for weeks, nothing's different. So I don't know if they're waiting to take the burlap off the turn lanes or what they're doing, and I'd like to find out what's going on with them.
Just so I can clarify it, is it south of
It's-
Van Buren?
It's going down Bullard towards Van Buren, and it's at Cambridge, and it's at Encanto. but the signs say traffic control change.
Okay.
But nothing's changing. So I'd just like to know what they're
Is
doing
it
there.
by the path there?
No, it's right on Bullard.
Okay, yeah.
And then the second question is, I am still getting complaints from city residents about the long lights, that they're sitting at red lights and there's no cars coming, even on the weekend, and it drives them nuts. And they want to know, have we lengthened the lights where at all of the intersections, or just the ones that we have the most traffic in, that has the most accidents in, or what? And I didn't know how to answer that over the weekend, so
All right.
you can let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
City manager have anything for us?
No, Mayor.
Nothing?
Nope.
Okay, the next meeting will be September 11th at 5 PM here. Don't go anywhere, we're just starting here, right? Vote can be held to call an executive session for the following reasons. Pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and 4, discussion and consultation with the city attorney for legal advice and to consider its position and instruct its city attorney regarding the city's position regarding contracts that are subject to negotiations related to the possible development agreement regarding King Ranch. Also, 17, pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and 4, discussing consultation with city attorney for legal advice to consider its position and instruct the attorneys regarding the city's position regarding contracts that are subject to negotiation related to the development agreement for the Hello Fresh project. 18, pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1 and 3, for legal advice and for the discussion and consideration of employment, assignment, and appointment of the position presiding judge. 19, pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3, consultation with the city attorney and city manager to receive legal advice related to regulatory matters associated with wastewater capacity at the city's water reclamation facilities. Can I get a motion and a second, which I see? With that, open up voting. Seven zero, we will now adjourn into executive session.